has changed dramatically in the past decade. Just give me a minute. Just give me a minute. I'm so sorry. Okay, a very warm welcome to all our participants present here today. Job seekers worldwide have often heard this term hidden jobs. But what exactly does it mean? And how can job applicants tap into this network? At its core, it is a bunch of jobs that aren't formally posted or advertised by companies. Recruiters and hiring managers find the right employees via various routes, but not regular job boards. Does this mean that the hidden jobs market is only for a privileged and few? Well, not really. It is accessible by anyone if they know how to do it. HR Association of India welcomes you all to the 2022 Dialogue Masterclass series on the topic, Tap the Hidden Jobs. To know more about HRAI and its event, I would request all our participants to visit the link and details posted in the chat window. Request all our participants to kindly follow the webinar guidelines mentioned in the chat window. It would be great to have all our participants' feedback. We will be running a poll before the Q&A session. Request all our participants to kindly give your feedback on the session. I now take the privilege to introduce our esteemed speaker for today, Mr. Sarbjeet Sachar. Sarbjeet is the founder and CEO of Aspiration. With an overall experience of 35 years comprising a mix of sales, recruitment, and job search and interview coaching, Sarbjeet spent the initial 17 years in the corporate in top management with reputed media and pharma organizations like Times of India, Living Media, The Hindu, Indian Express, Wallace Pharma, ZTV Network, and as a senior vice president sales, followed by 20 exciting years of steering Aspiration's growth in recruitment, job search coaching, interview coaching, and online courses. Sarbjeet enjoys the honor of being a speaker at reputed HR forums and has been associated with Upgrad as a brain coach for soft skills and conduct interview coaching masterclasses. He also appears recently in the Republic TV as a panelist for a discussion on importance of soft skills. You can also follow him on LinkedIn. The link for the same has been shared in the chat window. Without taking much time, I now hand over the platform to Mr. Sarbjeet. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Peter. Thank you for your kind words. And it's really exciting to be here on this forum, sharing my knowledge. More than that, I'm the kind of person who felt a little uncomfortable when it came to hidden jobs, the word hidden, because by way of personality, I'm quite like an open book. So whoever has met me knows everything about me. I'm quite down to earth. I believe in being open, but I use the word hidden because it is so important for a job seeker, because that is the biggest pain. Job search options. So I decided to choose this topic, and I'm sure, I'm going to, by the end of this session, all of you participants are going to have a lot to learn in terms of how to approach this hidden market with a very structured and systematic manner. Please allow me to share my screen so we can start that. Can you all see my screen? Peter, is it clear?
Yes, we can see it. It's clear.
Okay, fine. Thank you. So by the end of this session, you will understand as to what is a hidden job. Hidden job, as Peter explained, is primarily jobs which are not really advertised. They are not posted online, but they are there as latent needs. And second part is that you will learn, when you don't have any personal contacts in these companies, how do you still explore and reach out to these target employers? That is what you will learn in this session. Let's see where all of you are. You could be at a manager level, you could be at a lead somewhere, you could be a senior manager, regional manager, GM, VP, president. This is what your current status is when you are in the employed job market. Most of the job seekers who I coach and who I've seen come to us for generally these kind of needs, that there is no career growth in their company. That is why they're seeking a change, or the learning has stopped, or in the industry in which they are, that's stagnating, or they want to come back after they've taken a break. It could be a mother who's taken a break and wants to come back, a female, or somebody who just took a break because of circumstances and wants to come back. Better compensation, very common. Who doesn't like more money? And some people, unfortunately, have lost their job. And that is the toughest, because due to COVID, due to downsizing or whatever, these are primarily the general needs, and they are very deep needs. They are very painful. And that is when you want to actually search for a job. And when you want to search for a job, you need more options, and you want to have a very comfortable kind of a responsiveness from the recruiters, which in most cases doesn't happen. So what are you targeting? When you are a job seeker, you primarily look for either aiming for a position which is higher. You want to either shift industry, you are in telecom, you want to move to pharma, or you want to get back to work because either you tried an entrepreneurial venture which did not work out. I always believe that if you tried an entrepreneurial venture which didn't work out, you bring about a huge amount of learning. So you have in fact, I would say you are better than many of the candidates who can get practical experience but want to get back to work. Or you lost your job because of something and you want to come back. Again, you want to come back to work. Your challenges do remain as a job seeker. It could be that age is on the higher side. Perhaps you are 50 plus and you find it's difficult. Sometimes even at the age of 40, people start finding it difficult. Inadequate experience, that means you don't have direct experience which is proven in a particular category, in a particular segment. It could be industry, it could be product exposure, it could be the service exposure. You don't have direct experience, so still you find that as a challenge. There could be a career gap. You were away from work for 2 years, 3 years, for whatever reason. How do you fill that gap? Limited advertised jobs, because all said and done, every job cannot be advertised. So that's another challenge. No interview calls. You don't receive any interview calls in spite of applying. Your dream companies, you want to join your dream company, but you don't see any visible jobs. There are jobs, but you don't see them. And finally, you don't have any personal contacts in these dream companies. So how do you approach them? These are basically the challenges that you will face. Now, at this stage, I'd like to ask each one of you, if you can just put in the chat box only a yes or a no or a Y or a N for this question, that how many of you really depend on online job applications? That means, you just see a job posted online and you make an application. That's your approach. So just say a Y for a yes or N for a no, or the way you like it. Just please do that in the chat box. All right, great. So I can see that, Nitya, Pooja, Kabir, all means I'm saying even if say about 7 people have responded, all 7 of them have said yes, which means, see, there are yeses flowing in, which means that your job search mode approach is making online job applications. Now tell me again very quickly, out of every 10 applications that you make in the chat box, please tell me what is the kind of response rate you get in terms of interview calls. Genuinely, you start getting interview calls out of every 10 applications. Is it 1? Is it 2? Is it nil? Is it 5? Just list that down. How many of you out of every 10 applications get some response? So is it 1, 2? Okay, 1, 2, 2, 3. On an average, it's hovering between 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. All right. So what we have seen is that when you make online job applications, the response rate primarily is pretty low. And because you are depending on primarily the online job applications, generally people who are seeking jobs tend to feel very, very low, very frustrated that, I've sent 10 applications, 20 applications. When I coach people, they tell me that 20 applications and there's hardly any response. Why does online job application does not give you a response? Remember, this is something which has been proven by research that only 3% of the applications really reach a human eye. Why? Because there is something called as an ATS system. I don't know how many of you are familiar. There is something called as an application tracking system, which has been installed as a software with most of the large organizations. And that is because it's like, I would call it, sorry to say, a necessary evil for the organization. While for the job seeker, it is a big hurdle. What the ATS does is only catches keywords. That means if you have certain keywords in your resume, when you are actually uploading your resume, that is how it identifies whether this candidate's resume is suitable or no. If that keyword is missing, your resume doesn't move forward. And that is the sad part. That means you are dependent only on a machine. And that is why these online job applications have a lot of limitation. That means you don't even reach a recruiter. Recruiters will only skim through and spend, on an average, worldwide research has proven 6 seconds to decide whether to read the resume further or no. It's not that they will not read your resume, but in 6 seconds, they will decide. That means you have got a huge challenge that the first half of your resume, including your headline, has to be very engaging and very clear in terms of what the proposition is. Only then the recruiter will read it. And last, on online job applications, competition is very high. So with all these things, you find it very frustrating. Now, why do you do that? Why does that low response rate and frustration set in? Because most job seekers do not want to explore or do not know how to explore the hidden jobs. That means there are vacancies in companies which are lying vacant, but they are not advertised. So you feel that there is no vacancy, but how do you approach them? Lack of knowledge of any other approach. So you just know that online applications is the route to make, and you do that, you use that in a very, very limiting way. Poor networking skills. Networking is huge. In fact, it is said that your network is your absolute core of your secret to actually get a job in terms of your, or networking skill in terms of getting a job within your target employer companies. And lastly, you don't have a system. A job seeker does not really have a system to search for a job. It's very, very erratic. It's very, I would say, there is a kind of a casual approach that, okay, I see a job, just pick up my resume. The first thing is to pick up the resume and apply. Okay, assuming you are even applying to an online job, fine. But even if you are sending it to a reference, the only approach is that you call up the person and say, I'm looking for a job. The guy says, just send me your application and I'll forward it to HR, and it remains that way. This is why you find a very low success rate to your application process. There is certainly a better way, and definitely almost a secret way. The new approach is actually tapping the hidden market, because remember, this is again through Glassdoor that only 25% of the jobs are actually advertised. 75% of the jobs are hidden. They are never advertised. They are lying latent. They don't advertise every position in any case, right? So how do I know all this? Because I have done a lot of recruitment. In my 35 years, my initial years were in the corporate, but I headed my recruitment vertical of my agency, where we recruited, we would have recruited more than 10,000 candidates at mid-level, senior level, management levels across industries, across companies like Mahindra and Mahindra, Pidilite, Raymond, Parle Agro, Hindustan Times, so on and so forth. And then 6 years back, I really started job coaching. That means job search and interview coaching. And I would coach thousands of people. All this is something which is, I'm not telling you to impress you, but I'm telling you to impress upon you that it is very important to ensure that you tap the hidden market. And I'm very happy to say that, I've been able to touch the lives of many people. Like, for example, whoever I have coached, like Deepak Sharma, he has seen a lot of success through the kind of approaches that we have used for applying onto the hidden market. There is Sarjeet Singh, who's from the medical devices industry, where he says, well, I must say, despite spending so many years in sales marketing, I never dwelled into a job search program. He decided to look for a career coach, and then he came across me. And then that's how he started using the transferable skills. The way we actually taught him to network, eventually he landed up with a company where he wanted to work. Arun Thomas, he's from the tire industry. He has taken up a program, has used the same technique, which I'm going to teach you right now, has landed up with a job. Darshana Jain, who comes from a financial services background. She's from a finance background completely. She took up a service, and the way we actually analyzed and understood her profile, because she was also dependent on online applications completely. And she had started something of her own, and she wanted to come back to a corporate job. So after coaching her, after looking at what she has been able to achieve and positioning her, she's on her way to actually getting a job that she wants. Why is 75% of the job market hidden or unadvertised? First reason is that it's very painful to handle hundreds of applications for companies. If the companies would start advertising every job, the infrastructure itself would not support them. It is not possible, because every job that you see, an online job that is advertised, suddenly attracts about 300 applicants. And believe you me, I was talking to one of the HR heads, and he said out of 300 applications, frankly, only about 20 of them are really suitable. The rest of them have just seen the name of the company and put in their application. Now, if that's the kind of painful process, you need to have an ATS system. That is why the ATS is there. So there will be 75% of the jobs which they will prefer not to advertise. The recruitment cost is the second reason, and employers want you to keep their positions quiet. These are the reasons why jobs are kept latent, and that's a big market which you must explore. What do recruiters do in a hidden market? Means if they're not advertising, they will ask for internal reference. Every company has some reference scheme. They will want to talk to their employees. The bigger one is that the internal recruitment team will start looking at LinkedIn and start reaching out to potential candidates. That's where your LinkedIn profile becomes very important for you to get discovered without even applying. It's such an important tool which most of them undermine. They feel that LinkedIn is not as important. I would say resume is one part, but LinkedIn is equally important. According to me, it's slightly more important because it is also a platform for networking. So you got to use your LinkedIn also along with your resume, because this is what the recruiters do. Now, what does this mean for you when they are not advertising? More job opportunities are there in the hidden market. Presenting your candidature directly to decision makers, you really don't have to go through the route of the online job application, where the risk or the probability of your application getting rejected by the ATS is very high. You can develop a system and a structure and approach these potential employers, target employers directly. You can beat the ATS system and increase your chances of selection. So when you go to approach the hidden market, you will realize that your chances of selection increase. First of all, for getting into this hidden market, I would recommend very strongly that there needs to be a mindset shift. This, I would say, is the crux. Very, very important. There is nothing more important than this. That means you got to stop thinking of yourself as a job seeker. You are actually a business consultant. You are not a job aspirant. Assuming you have starting your own business as a business consultant, you would be marketing your services to your clients. If you are going to do that, what is the first thing you will do for your potential clients? You would actually do a lot of homework on those potential clients. You will ensure that these potential clients, you know about their pains, and then accordingly you will be able to approach them, because you have started your services, your consulting, but you got to know about your clients. Similarly here, in this case, your clients are your potential target employers. They have certain needs and they have certain pains. Every job has a pain, and you are going to be marketing your skills and expertise to your target employers who are your clients. So first of all, my strong recommendation to each one of you is shift your mindset. Don't think of yourself as a job aspirant. Wear the business consultant's hat. The moment you will do that, your entire thinking will change, your entire approach will change, and this is fundamental. That's the starting point. 5 steps to actually tap the hidden market. So first, you got to list down your target employers. That means you got to, people feel that, I see a job here, let me apply. But have you really, first of all, have a kind of so-called bucket list? A list of target employers, 10 to 12 target employers. There's no point in making 80 applications. There's no point. Just for satisfaction that, I'll apply at 80 places, but the response is not coming. We know that. We have seen that. So if that is the case, first do your homework and who should be your target employer, and make a list of only 10 to 12. It's like exactly like, as I said, you're thinking of yourself as a business consultant. A business consultant will actually approach his clients in a very methodical way. That's exactly what you need to do. Second is identifying the pain points. Every job has a pain point. Every job. So you got to do research to find out the pain point, because once you identify the pain point, the target employer is going to pay attention to you. How you are the solution provider. What is the value? It's all value based. What's your value? What is the value you get to the table for the target employer? That you will come to know only you have a list of target employers, you've done your research on the pain points, and then the solution. Then you start networking through referrals and value-based relationships. Referrals would mean, referrals would mean people who are known to you, who can introduce you to the target employer companies. Here also, I notice that whenever I'm coaching people, I notice most of them make a mistake that what they do is if they know somebody, they said, I'm looking for a job, please. So the other guy on the obligation side, he says, okay, yaar, just send me your resume. The resume goes to the HR, and it is a full bank of applicants, and it's lying. No, the approach has to be different. If you know somebody, you got to use a route of networking and reaching the decision maker with your value, addressing yourself as a solution provider to the pain point. I'll come to that. Eventually, you got to start informational conversations. What are informational conversations? You are going to actually be talking to these people like a consultant. You are not a job aspirant. You are actually a solution provider. You've understood what the pain of the organization is. You understood what the pain of the job is. And now what you're going to do is get into conversation, because to deep dive into that conversation, because don't be scared. You are equally important as a candidate of as much as the employer, because without a good candidate, believe you me, the employer will have a business which will suffer. It gives them sleepless nights. So feel that you are very, very valuable. And that is the first thing. So do not feel that the employer is maybe more important than you are. No, you are equally important. Once you do that, you can start your informational conversations. First step, let me tell you, how do you actually identify target employers and what is the criteria? On the basis of your skills, which are your transferable skills. I'll come to transferable skills also, but on the basis of your transferable skills, location, assuming you're looking at in Mumbai, Delhi, Pune, you list them down that, okay, you need jobs in these places. Industry could be financial services, IT industry, whatever you're looking at. Company size could be a startup, could be a mid-size, could be a large corporate. A company's values are very important, career advancement opportunities for that target employer, and most importantly, what excites you about them. I do believe that if you are actually going to be applying for a particular job, you got to be excited about that company. If you are not excited, if you are dull, staid, there's no energy, there's no enthusiasm, why you come even for an interview, it gets reflected. Half the battle is won the moment you are excited. But that excitement will come only if you have done research on the company. I can't emphasize much on what I just mentioned. The mindset has to be like a business consultant. It cannot be any other. Target list of employer companies, come up with only 10 to 12 companies, not more. There's no need for having 80 companies, 80 applications and running helter-skelter. I would say just have 10, 12 companies, but then start doing your work on those 10, 12 companies even before you make an application. Most of the time, people think that, a preparation has to be done only when you get an interview call, which is a mistake. It is not to do with only when you get an interview call. You got to start preparing much in advance before you make an application, for which you need a very structured approach. So you got to have a target employer list of 10 to 12 companies. Next step is you got to understand the pain point. What is the pain point? Pain point is something which every job, either it is in terms of saving of money, it is turnaround time, it is saving of time, it is increase of revenue, it is increase of productivity, it is increase of efficiencies. These are all pain points of the job. You got to identify and then try and see how your skill can match and you can solve the pain of that organization or the job. Because once you identify the pain point and you can write about the pain and the relevance of your background to that pain point, you can attract the decision maker's attention. That is 100% guaranteed. So you don't have to bother about, means if you have got the decision maker, hiring manager, or even if it is HR, address their pain and you present yourself in a manner that you are a solution provider. You are not a person who is actually sending them just a resume that if there is a vacancy, I would be happy to meet you. No, that's not the approach. You are talking to them like a business consultant, not a job aspirant. And you are marketing your skills and expertise to actually address the pain point of that company. Example of a pain point. I was coaching one guy, he was wanting a job in a FMCG company. And in that FMCG company, he noticed that he wanted to apply. I told him, do homework on that FMCG company. He did a lot of homework. Since he was from the industry, he knew the retailers. He went, spoke to a few retailers, found out that, the shelf space for the product which this company he was wanting to apply for was very limited because of the dealer margins being less. That means the company was not perhaps having very attractive dealer margins. So the retailers were not really very motivated to give them shelf space. And that is how, because the product was not displayed on the shelf, the consumers were not really attracted and sales were getting affected. So if he identified that, and then after doing all that research, he wrote to the decision maker saying that this, according to me, is one of your major challenges. And I know people in that region. I know all the retailers and all the vendors because of my relationship. So you try and match your relationship skills with the vendors to the pain point. That means, you need better understanding of these retailers for your product to be displayed well. Can we have a chat? That is called an informational conversation. So I hope you guys get it. This is how your target list of employers, then understanding the pain point, and you trying to find a skill match between the pain point and your job. Transferable skills. This is very important while you are marketing your candidature. What are transferable skills? They are a mix of hard skills and soft skills. They are skills which can be transferred from one job to another. They can be transferred from one industry to another. There could be occasions where you don't have direct experience of handling a particular either product category or in an industry. People might say, interviewers might say that, you're not from this industry, but doesn't matter. If there are 10 requirements in a particular job description, all 10, you don't meet them. You only meet, say, 7. There are 3 where you don't meet them. But those 3 where you don't meet, if you can present your value, instead of directly having a skill match, you can still be a very valuable candidate. And that is where your transferable skills become very important. So like contract development, audit, sales proposals, these are all domain hard skills which are transferable. If you are good at audit, you can do it for any industry. It is fine. Your domain is still strong. Soft skills like adaptability, communication and presentation skills, learning ability, all these are soft skills which are transferable. Because of your ability to learn, you should be in a position to present, even to employers, with confidence that I can prove to you that I'm a learner. If I have not had direct exposure in this area, I'll tell you how I've learned these things in my current organization. And this is how I've addressed your pain point. If you can take that approach, your transferable skills can become a very important tool to market your candidature. And then after you've listed your skills, rate them as 8, 9, and 10, which could be your core skills. The good skills would be between 5 and 7, and below 5 would be something where you need to improve on. Why should you rate them? Because you should know what your strength is. Accordingly, you will be able to zero in on the kind of roles when you read the job description. That becomes very important, because if you know that this is my core skill and this is what the job requires, the chances of you getting the right kind of profile is very essential. The skills which you have to improve, you can always work on it. But my advice would be focus on your core skills and the skills where you are already good at, while you are actually having your executive brand presence in your resume and in your LinkedIn profile. So focus on that. Advantage of transferable skills is that you can use it to shift industry. It can help you stand out as a candidate. It is a different kind of roles that you want to take up within the same industry. And it also strengthens your career tools, which is like your resume, LinkedIn, and pitch letter, if you use your transferable skills. Let's see how you can approach with these 3 important tools, which are an integral part of your entire marketing exercise: your resume, your LinkedIn, and pitch letter. Why does a resume need to attract? What does it need actually? A recruiter generally, as I said, the challenge is that it will spend only 6 seconds on an average, because they are inundated with so many applicants. They have got so many resumes to go through. Many times they might not, because the resume, the cover letter, etc., generally is not so very attractive. And unless and until you can attract the attention of a recruiter, it doesn't make sense. You might just be kind of sending your application and the resume might just pass by. So it is very important to make your resume engaging. I'll give you some tips as to how you can make your resume engaging. First of all, it has to have a very clear headline. It has to have a headline. It's like something like a newspaper when you receive at your home. Suppose you receive a newspaper at your home and it does not have any headline. How will you know what is politics, sports, local news, entertainment, which is of area of interest to you? So headline of a resume, in I would say 99% of the cases of the resume that I see, they are not written. If you don't have a headline, you are missing out an opportunity, because as I said, it is only 6 seconds it takes for a recruiter or an employer to actually see that your resume is attractive, to read it further or no. Not to decide to shortlist, but to read it further, you need a powerful headline. Headline has to clearly depict what your domain area of expertise is. It can have the industry also, but what it should give an impression that this is your core area: supply chain management. Or maybe if you are in the IT industry in a particular domain, mention that. If you're in financial services and if audit is your major thing, mention as audit. Something in the headline of only 3-4 words, that's all. Then there'll be many other things. There is professional summary where you need to bring about your core skills, your achievements, all that has to be explained. Core skills are important from the point of view that, as I mentioned, once you have identified your core skills, match it with what the industry and the job requires. So if it is supply chain management, mention supply chain management. Those core skills have to come as a separate section as bullet points in your resume, because these are the ones which will attract the attention of a recruiter. Very important. At the same time, even if you're making an online job application, these core skills have to match. So if you are actually applying to jobs online, you got to tweak your resume for every job. That means for every job, you got to study the job description, ensure that you pick up that core skill from there and add it to your resume, and only then you should apply. Your hit rate will be much higher. Achievements which are measurable. I noticed that most of the times in resume, the focus is more on responsibilities, not so much on achievements. What you did, what you handled is something which is fine. That was your responsibility. But I'm going to hire you, if I'm a hiring manager, only for what you delivered, what results you got, and were they measurable results? Did you actually reduce the cost of the company and save the 20% of the cost? Did you increase the revenue by, say, 30%? Did you improve the productivity of the department with your software because of the efficiency going up, and you saw that man hours now have become more productive and increased it by 10%? That is what you got to mention in your resume. Action oriented, it should be action verbs. It has to be something which is like a verb which says that I delivered or I handled. Those kind of words have to come. They have a psychological impact on a human mind. There is nothing secret about it. These are all things which I have, through observation, I'm telling you that resume has to have it. Good amount of white space. Don't make it cramped up. Don't have color, don't have graphics and all that unless until your job is of a graphic designer, or you are a model or something, or your job entails that you got to depict something very visual. Otherwise, your resume has to be hardcore facts, 2 pages, mention only facts. That's it. He will meet you and assess. At the same time, you also got to use LinkedIn. So don't make your resume colorful with a lot of graphics. It can waste a lot of space. And that is a point where you don't get an interview call. These are very important things. Bullet points, very important. Don't have paragraphs. Everything has to be broken up into bullet points, and it has to be only 2 pages. How to customize your resume? Ask yourself one question. Whenever you read a job description, ask yourself that, can I present success stories for this skill which they are wanting? If you can present success stories for each of the skills that you are there, you will know that you are the right match. That means the more success stories you can present and which actually reflect your skills, the more suitable you are for that job. So whenever you are applying for a job, ensure that you have a lot of success stories to tell and write the success stories down. See, this is a work that you got to do while applying for a job. Just don't make an application. That means your every resume will have to be tweaked according to the job. That is most essential. Let's look at critical marketing tool, LinkedIn. LinkedIn is not an online resume. It's a mistake if people think that way. LinkedIn is a networking branding platform. It can present your executive online brand presence among the target employers, and if used effectively, which it has to be, for networking. It is beautiful. 10 years back, we didn't have LinkedIn. We didn't know who was working where. Today, LinkedIn can tell you who's working where in your target employer companies. It can actually tell you as to what the company's objectives are. You can do so much of homework. Again, as I taking you back to thinking like a business consultant. Don't forget that. So LinkedIn is critical because recruiters generally in the resume, they will go through it, but they will have a look at your LinkedIn profile. So LinkedIn profile needs to be well optimized. It needs to be very, very well optimized with the right kind of keywords, and it should project who you are. So what are the important areas in LinkedIn? Again, I'm coming to the headline. LinkedIn, the advantage is, unlike a resume, you can have more words. It doesn't be limited to only 3 or 4 words. You can have even 5, 7, 8, 10, 11 words, and you can write that. Because the moment I see somebody's LinkedIn profile, or a recruiter or hiring manager will see it, they will see the headline. It should position you immediately. It should also tell the target audience, the employer, what you can do for them. What is it that you can do for the target employer? Include that. For example, in my headline, it's clearly the founder and CEO of Aspiration, but I say I coach or I help job seekers tap the market which is hidden and get them jobs. So we have, in the sense, it's very clear if some job seeker is reading it, he will know this is what I do. And after that, I've added, I'm a job search coach, I'm an interview coach. Clear. So these will be the words that are reflecting what Sarabjit can do. Similarly, you will have to reflect that. Then comes the about section, where you got to ensure that what people say about you, you can use quotes, you can bring about your uniqueness, what have been your achievements, what have been your awards, what have been your some things where you have presented, what makes you stand out, what are your skills. And in this, you must add your core skills. Because again, remember, as I said, even LinkedIn is like a Google. So when recruiters are searching by keywords, and if you are in, say, the finance industry, and if you are maybe a finance CFO, for example, or you are a finance manager, you got to ensure that financially, all the core skills which are related to the finance domain have to be mentioned there in your LinkedIn profile, so that in the search results, your LinkedIn will come up and you will get discovered by employers. That is how you're tapping the hidden market without even applying. So LinkedIn plays a very, very important role. I can't emphasize much. Presentations, add your presentations. If you've been able to speak somewhere, if you've presented some papers, if you've even made some presentations which are allowed in public, upload them, because LinkedIn allows you to showcase yourself more holistically as compared to just a resume. Resume is only hardcore facts. Here it is dynamic. You can keep updating, changing. Awards and certificates is something which you should do. So your LinkedIn profile has to be excellent in terms of representing you as a candidate. General cover letters are dead. Do not write general cover letters at all. As I said, if your business consultant is there and if he wants to succeed, he will customize his approach for every client. Similarly, that's why I said first step is to identify 10 to 12 target employers. Once you've identified your target employers and you've done your research on what their pain points are, you will be in a position to come up with a customized pitch letter. We call it a pitch letter because it's actually pitching your candidature, but in a manner which is different. A general cover letter would just mean that, okay, I've got so many years of experience and this one. People undermine the importance of a cover letter, but I can tell you our pitch letters are something which I can vouch for. You will need to ensure that you are attracting the attention of the employer by finding a connect, and that's how you do it. So let me just share with you one of the templates which I have of a pitch letter. It needs to first start by congratulating the company for any recent award or any initiative, any milestone that you have read. That's where your research comes into the picture. So first, never start with, this is regarding a job that I'm applying for. No, it should not be you oriented. That means as a job seeker, it should be something about me. If you're writing to me, I am the employer. You got to attract me. You got to talk about me. You got to talk about my pain. Sorry to say, but everybody is very selfish. I don't mean to hurt anybody that way, but what I mean is everybody wants to know what you can do for me. Only when you can do that, then and only then will I read what you're telling me. If there's nothing in it for me, I won't read it. It's only about you in the beginning. So first congratulate, then example like I would like to congratulate so-and-so school for being ranked as number 3 in Delhi, international come so-and-so. Talking about the school, having spent my career in administration of a scholastic environment, I heartily agree that there is no greater reward to know that you are directly affecting the lives of students. Towards that end, I am efficient administrator and able to direct the operations of the school. See how the transition from the school now comes to your skills slowly. And then you say that some of my career highlights are here. Then you talk about your achievements, any major achievements and awards and any initiative taken. And then in the end say, I know I can be an effective principal because I get a thrill from the student teaching environment and working with young men and women who can impact all the futures of the better. So just see the structure of a pitch letter. It is unlike a cover letter. It's all talking first about the employer, congratulating them, then bringing in certain amount of pain points and the skills. And then eventually you are saying that, okay, let's meet and talk. Important element of tapping the hidden market, networking, which I spoke about. Use referrals to introduce. But whenever you know somebody, so when you have listed down, whenever you've listed down, say 10 to 12 companies, target employers. See, find out as to who are the people who can actually introduce you to these target employer companies. There could be anybody. He could be working in any department, doesn't matter. You don't need a job because of somebody, but you need more information about your client, who is your target employer, so that you can make a absolutely great pitch for this target employer through the hidden market. That means you use your resources to do more homework. Means if I ask them that how many hours do you spend on actually doing a preparation? Okay, let me ask you people, put it in the chat below. How many hours do you put in preparing before you apply or even for an interview? Just put it in the chat. Let me see. Just put whether you put half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hours in preparing. Just let me see. Just please put it in the chat below. How many hours of preparation? 15 minutes. And be very truthful about it. 20 minutes, 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 1 hour, 30 minutes. Fantastic. 2 hours, 10 minutes. All right. Thank you so much. 1 hour. So it's averaging between 10 minutes to 1 hour. I'm saying, do not get scared if I tell you that you got to spend nothing less than 7 to 8 hours per employer. And it's not a big deal. See, what I'm telling you to do is really think like a business consultant who's going to make a pitch to get a business. You want a job in your dream company, you want to use the hidden jobs, you will have to work non-traditionally. You cannot use the same approach that, okay, fine, I see a job and I'll apply for it. Spend 7 to 8 to 9 hours doing research about the company, read about the company. Today, everything is publicly available. There are public limited companies who have their AGMs and all that, and reports are published. There are interviews with the founders. There are interviews with the leadership teams. Everything is available. You'll have to really start thinking as to what is it this the company is trying to achieve. And from that, you will be able to understand how you can arrive at the pain point understanding. Once you understand the pain point, you are in a better position, much more confident to actually pitch for your candidature. And that is the crux. So for that, you got to do networking. So again, using the reference not to ask for a job, but to start a conversation. So ask the person to introduce you. Say, I'm doing some work. Can you please introduce me to this person? I'm really excited. I want some more information. That's it. The first step is that. Coming to resume, going into an interview call is obviously the next step. But the first step cannot be that generally. So you cannot do something like, you go to a doctor. Does the doctor straight away give you the prescription? Doesn't. What he does is he will actually, first of all, examine you, then diagnosis, and then give you the prescription. So that's the part you got to play. Use the pain as the hook. Once you've understood what the pain of the job is, use that as a hook. Present yourself as a solution provider. This is the principle of networking. Fundamentally, you got to do networking for this. Make a list of reference, people who you know who can directly introduce you to the target companies, people known to you who can introduce you, who are, suppose you have say 3 companies in your 10 companies where you know people, talk to them. You know people who might not be working in that company, but you might have your neighbor working in that company, for example, and you know him, or you have a LinkedIn connection who's connected to somebody in that company. Ask for an introduction. You will have to expand your base. All this might look a lot of work, but believe you me, if there is a system you follow, a structure, and you spend 15 minutes every day, within 60 to 90 days, you will get what you are, or you will make progress towards your job. That's for sure. Value-based networking is what I'm recommending. Use LinkedIn to start engaging conversations. That means, do a lot of homework, study the profiles of people on LinkedIn. Before you actually even approach an employer, you must read the LinkedIn profiles of all of them. The MD of the company, the leadership team of the company, the people who are in the same domain as yours. If you're in finance, the finance people. If you're in marketing, the marketing people. If you're in IT, the IT people. The more homework you do. See, if you want something very different, you'll have to do different things. You cannot expect the same result by doing the same thing. We got to change our habit. And I'm talking through experience where all our professionals who take our coaching do get these results with the same strategy. So I'm sharing with you tried and tested things. It's not something which has not been tested. For 6 years, we've been doing that. Increase your online visibility with target employers. What you can also do, I'll give you a tip. When you have target employers there, you study more of them. Today, LinkedIn allows you to comment or like somebody's post. When you are a business consultant and you are not really in the job seeking mindset, you are a business consultant who's got a solution for their problem, you will study what that MD is saying. You will study what the CMO is saying. You will study what the IT head is saying. You will study what your managers are saying. Study as much as possible. If you can do that and you start really understanding what their pain is, what the company is trying to achieve, you can start a conversation. Once you start a conversation, you are in that loop of the target employers. And it becomes very easy for you to actually say that, okay, now I have understood and I have presented, let's have a chat. This is my resume. That is when you start getting your resume into the picture. Do not just make an application. That is the worst thing that we can do. Worst means just reading a job description and sending an application. That's not going to get you the result. This, you will get a result 110% guaranteed. The crux to striking conversational interviews. I call it conversational interviews. If you can show excitement about the organization, because you understand and you've done your research and you can find that I can solve your problem, and you have actually attracted the attention of the business decision maker to talk to you. So when you are using your LinkedIn, use it in a manner which is very methodical. So we are really talking of developing a list of target employer companies, having your skills listed down, having success stories listed down, having your transferable skills identified, Then fine-tuning your entire approach of these career tools, which are resume, LinkedIn, and pitch letter. Then you are networking very methodically every day, spending time on LinkedIn. You are trying to converse with these targeted 10 to 12 target employer companies. You do a lot of research on them, continue to talk to them, continue to converse with them, continue. Do not feel that whether your connection request will be accepted by a person or no. It all depends on what your approach is. If your approach is you oriented and not me oriented, the guy has to listen to you. You are bound to get that conversation going. And once that happens, just imagine you have a foot in the door of all these 10 companies and you will start getting positive responses from these people. But you have to be committed to your own self to do this. In anything in life, we have to be committed first. So if you are committed and ready to do this, you will get results 200% from this. This is my guarantee to you. Please use this approach and go to the hidden jobs rather than just depending on the online jobs. If you want to make applications on the online jobs, fine, but there is a method to that. You have to fine tune, you have to customize, use the keywords, fine tune your resume, and then make it, because that is a limited way of applying. It's online. Whereas here we are talking of directly approaching them. So LinkedIn becomes a very important thing. Have your LinkedIn profile well optimized on that. Advantage of hidden jobs, which is the final thing I'm going to tell you. You will be well networked among the target employers. You can directly have conversations. You are not really dependent on an ATS system or something like that. You can have, but it should be value-based conversation, value-based relationship. It cannot be something which is, okay, fine, I'm just sending my resume, not that. What is the value you are creating for that? And you are creating a win-win relationship with the target employer. Pitch to the decision maker directly, along with the HR, keep them informed and talk to them, but have a pitch. That means even the HR has to see some value in what you're bringing to the table. Minimal competition in this approach because people do not know how to do it. You will stand out. Quality effort and better results, and chances of selection will improve dramatically. This is something which you must do. So with this, I will end my presentation and I'll be open for a Q&A. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Sarabjit. Definitely a great session, enlightening, insightful. Before we move to the Q&A session, we will capture the feedback of our participants to know how has been the session. So would request all our participants to kindly share your feedback on today's session. While you are doing so, would request all our participants to post in their questions in the chat window pertaining to our today's session. Our speaker would be happy to address those questions. Once again, I thank all our participants for joining our session today. We have received a lot of inquiry about the e-certificate offered by HRAI. You can claim your certificates by sharing your details. When we say details, that is your name and the session you have attended in an email to the email ID provided in the chat window. Please ensure you do this by this month itself so that we can have the certificates emailed to you. So, Sarabjit, we have received a couple of questions by our participants. Should we continue? Should we go ahead?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, so this is the first one that is from Darsha. He's asking, how can one identify the pain points specifically for the mentioned job unless and until we have an insider information?
Sure. So it's a very good question, which is the crux of that entire thing. How do you identify? One, if you have some contact who's known to you and who can introduce you, that is where your networking will come into the picture. So you got to get yourself introduced and see that whether that referral who's introducing you can make you reach to the person because you are actually doing homework. That's one. The second approach is that there is a lot of public information. So if you don't want to use that approach and you don't have anybody as an insider, use the public information that is available. That means, as I mentioned to you, there are corporates who are public limited companies. They publish everything, AGM reports, etc. There are interviews of the MDs, there are interviews of the founders, there are interviews of the leadership teams. Listen to them. Go to the LinkedIn company page, study that. You will have to, as I said, once you change your mindset that I am a business consultant who's marketing my skills and expertise to the target employer, start looking at these LinkedIn company pages, the websites, the job descriptions, and study all of that in detail. And once you do that, there are many times interviews also that are available on the LinkedIn company pages of the employees of the company. That means people who are in, say, for example, the same domain. You can listen to that. And so again, as I said, 7 to 8 to 9 hours you got to spend on researching one particular target employer. It's like that Abraham Lincoln's saying, if I had to cut a tree, I would spend about, out of, say, if I'll take about 10 hours to cut a tree, I would spend 7 to 8 hours in sharpening my saw. And then I will cut that tree. So same principle applies here. Do not look at job search as that, okay, fine, it's called like spraying and praying. Means I just spray my applications everywhere and I pray that I get a call. Won't work. Rather, you do a targeted. So if you can do that, either through a referral, if not, then a lot of information is available online. You do a Google search on that company, everything about that company you can study. You can study their past job descriptions also if you don't find a job description for the similar role. You will, means I'm saying holistically, you'll have to use all these resources to arrive at the pay.
So I hope, Darshak, this answers your question. Thank you so much, Sarabjit. We move to the next question, and that's from Nitya. This calls in for how to get endorsement on skills on LinkedIn that are a core part of my job to attract the employer's interest.
So that's again a very good question. On LinkedIn, there are skill endorsements which you have to get, which actually help you position yourself as a effective brand online. It is important for you to understand, first of all, what are your core skills, means who are you, and for what skills you would like to be known. So those skills, when you start listing them down, the core skill section which is there for skill endorsements, you don't keep listing down all the skills which are irrelevant. First of all, you got to identify that these are my core skills for which I need to get endorsed. Once you've decided those key skills which need to be endorsed, then your activity also has to get reflected accordingly. So suppose, in my case, for example, because I'm into job search coaching, all my skills are related to job search coaching, interview coaching, and positioning a candidate in the employer's mind. This is my core skill. My entire positioning in terms of my posts, my videos, my reels, what I do is pertaining to that. So automatically I start getting a lot of endorsements because people see me as that. And that's how I'm perceived as a brand, and my activities support what I do. So same thing you can do for that. I hope that answers your question. Importantly, please identify your core skills first.
Core skills areas. Thank you so much, Sarabjit. Now moving to the next question, that's from Pooja Chudasama. If we know a particular job that is not being advertised, how to use the opportunity effectively? What should be the first step?
All right. So you may know that this company may have a vacancy, but you don't know whether you're not sure about it. So the work will start actually by networking. You will really have to start networking in terms of using, and LinkedIn, again, I'm saying it's my favorite. LinkedIn is a very effective tool. If you can draw up a list of, once you've drawn up the list of companies, suppose you have X company, let's take Godrej. Godrej is your company, target company, you want to apply there. See who are the people on LinkedIn in Godrej. Try and find how you can actually start a conversation with them by building that value, by that relationships. So it is something which you will have to study that, okay, Godrej, these are the people. And if you are in, say, marketing, or you are in finance, or you are in supply chain, according to what your domain is, try and link yourself up with these individuals by building value-based relationships. As I said, you will have to ensure that you are showing a lot of interest in them. You are showing a lot of interest in the effort that you've taken to understand their pain, and then approaching them. And then once you establish that relationship, automatically you will start getting results. And also one more tip I can give you, LinkedIn company pages also many times have some vacancies advertised, which are only on the LinkedIn company pages, their own company pages, or on the corporate website of the company. They are not advertised anywhere. So start following the LinkedIn company pages of each of these companies. You may get an alert, which could also be of a job that is not really advertised anywhere else. It could be on the website of the company limited, or it could be on the LinkedIn company page. So that is how also you will know whether there is a vacancy or not. but it's all about networking.
Beautifully answered. And also we have got the confirmation from Nitya that yes, she has got the answer and she has got the response to the question that was there. Moving on to our next question. This is from Yasser. How to present a career break of 2 to 3 months and explain the same to the interviewer?
Okay. So ask yourself this question. First of all, if it was a 2-3 month career break or a gap, what did you do? Don't focus on the gap. Focus on what you did. Ask yourself, did you learn anything? If you had a certification course that you learned during that time, fine. Suppose you didn't do that. But what did you learn? Even when you took a career gap, and assuming it was for maybe a personal reason, and it was something which was a circumstance which you could not help. For example, what did you learn? What did you learn during that period, which was your soft skill and something that you developed? Feel proud about it. It is life. If there is a career gap, it's all right. It's fine. Don't hide it. But what you can do, if you can help it, and I'm saying if it is not circumstantial, like you met with an accident or something, assuming you met with an accident, unfortunately, it shouldn't happen. But I'm just saying somebody met with an accident. During that time, did you read some books? You learned to be much more, you built your character. Did you get stronger? Did you understand that this is what life is all about? And it happened. Take it that way. And that's the spirit you should present even to an employer, because that is a skill which you will be able to transfer into your real job also. So that is one. Otherwise, if you can take up some freelance projects, if it is not to, means if you can help it, in the sense it's not circumstantial, can you take up some freelance projects, even if it is pro bono, without any pay, doesn't matter. But it will be more important for you to be employed and sharpening your saw during those 3 months gap, rather than just looking at that gap as a gap where you didn't do anything and you feel scared. You feel, oh my God, what will I tell an interviewer, or what will I write on my resume? If you have taken up a freelance project, write on your resume very proudly that I took up freelance assignment and that's what I did, and fill your resume with that. Feel proud about it. That's okay.
Thank you so much, Sarabjit, for the response. We have a very interesting question, and I'm sure like many have heard this. How you address when the interviewer say that you are overqualified for the position? This is from Rajendra Nikum.
All right, fantastic question. The very common thing which comes up with when I'm coaching many of the being said that you're overqualified. See, that is a perception of the individual on the other side. What you can do is request very politely for the person to explain what are the different aspects of the job. If you can please break down the different aspects of the job. If you're telling me that I'm overqualified, if you don't mind, can you please break up the different key aspects of that job profile? The moment the person breaks it up into different aspects, for example, you are bound to be actually good at some aspects. Suppose he breaks it down into 4 or 5 key areas, that these are the 5 aspects which are very key to the job. Say that in these 3, I'm absolutely fine. The balance 2, I have the ability to learn. So you break it down and ensure that that overqualification, which is more of a perception, you are able to circumvent it very confidently. Because every job, when they say overqualified, yeah, if it could mean that, by way of salary, you are at a very high salary and they don't have a budget, that's a different issue. And then it's your call whether you want to kind of make an adjustment in the salary. That is also okay, depending on the job profile. So depending on what that overqualified means, if it means that they feel, oh, you are too junior, or maybe you are too senior, and your designation doesn't reflect that, I think maybe it happened in one case where somebody was a director, whereas the person had only about 11 years experience, but the director designation was causing that a problem. I said, remove that designation as a director from your resume, write what your role is, what you are handling, remove that director. The game changed for the person. So don't have that thing that, okay, whether I'm overqualified. Have a discussion, politely ask the interviewer that if you can please tell me what are the key aspects, because ultimately, what does it mean? It means that you should be able to deliver results on that job. So if somebody is saying you are overqualified and you can prove it, that out of these 5 areas in 3, though I have already got enough experience, the moment you will break it up, that thing will become much easier to handle.
A very valid, vital point that you have brought out. It's all about breaking down the entire requirement and then afterwards further understanding it. Because sometimes it happens that it can be packaged, it can be the kind of role that that person has been playing, and here they are trying to see whether, or the age can be a criteria. So a very valid point. It's all about understanding the person well and the requirement well, and then afterwards having the correlation. Thank you so much. We have many questions with shortage of time, but we'll try to take one last question, keeping in mind the time factor. And the remaining questions, really appreciate our participants who have shared such interesting questions with us. What we will be doing is we'll be sharing these questions in an email to you so that you can respond to those questions, and we will accordingly have those responses shared with our participants. So this one final question that I will take, how to strongly convey that I don't have adequate experience in the mentioned skills, but I have the zeal to learn and become better, especially in writing. This is from Kabir.
Especially in writing, you mean sending
might be in an email or in a response that that person intend to say.
So again, it boils down to how much work you have done to understand what the pain of that job is. The more homework you have done, assuming there are 10 key areas in the job description, you don't have exposure to maybe say 4 of them completely, and those 4 are important, but you are very keen on that job and you feel that you can do that job, then you got to ensure that you got to do a little more homework in terms of understanding and giving them a value proposition that fine, I might not have direct exposure. What it means is that if you have the zeal and you want to send something in writing, which means your objective is to get an interview call, for which you got to do something different. You got to stretch an extra mile, go beyond your regular application. And as I told you, that do so much of research and prepare a kind of a deck saying that, okay, this is like a mini project. Send it to them saying, this is what I believe will help you. It should be so well done that the person feels that at least the person is worth meeting. That's enough. Once the person meets you, it's because of your zeal and enthusiasm, you should be able to present it. But you'll need to do that additional work of sending them something which should appeal to them, that you are providing a solution to their problem. For that, homework has to be required, research has to be done.
Thank you so much, Sarabjit, for this exciting, insightful, illuminating, and intriguing session. Key takeaways that I would like to bring out here would be: read the job requirement well, showcase your achievements around the area of the job, structure your communication well, ensure that the time that you are investing in understanding the job role, requirement of the company well, that will help position you in a better way. So very insightful tips. Thank you so much for sharing these tips with our participants. I'm sure they've had a lot to learn and take away from this session. It's been a pleasure being with you today. Before we conclude with our today's session, we would also want to thank the association members, that is Acacia, NASSCOM COE, LinkedIn Local, Talgrow, TLE, WICCI for supporting these HRAI events. To know more about these associations, request you to kindly visit the link provided in the chat window. Thank you once again, dear speaker and our participants, for joining us today. Do join us tomorrow for our next masterclass on feedback, how effective it is, by Dr. Raina Khatri Tandon at 3 p.m. Indian Standard Time. That's it from us today. See you soon. Stay safe, take care, and bye for now.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you,
so
Neha. Thank you, Hiral. Thank you so much. I enjoyed myself, and thank you to each of the participants. Really had a great time doing this. So I am a much more learned person now than what I was at 3 o'clock.
In fact, we have had the pleasure of having you here, and we would look forward to many more such sessions from you. Thank you so much, Sarabjit.
Sure. Okay, Peter. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Faisal. We can hereby conclude with our today's session.
Sure, Peter.
Thank you, Peter. Thanks, Neha. Bye. Thanks for organizing.